very clear that ceasefire has been a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, and both the nations have agreed. The Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan called the Director General of Military Operations of India at 15:35 hours. That's earlier today. It was agreed between them that both the sides will stop firing on land, sea and air. Instructions have been given on both the sides to give effect to this entire agreement immediately. And the Director Generals of Military Operations will talk again on the 12th of May at 1200 hours. So, in case you've just tuned in, well, we've got breaking news in what could be called as a dramatic turn of events. A ceasefire now is in place, brokered, or the truce which was called by none other than American President Donald Trump. The ceasefire is coming without any riders, that is what we understand. This ceasefire is only about the military or the this is nothing to do with India and their stand on Indus Treaty. This is only about the operations which in a sense were carried on both the sides of the border. Now, before I set up the market here, let me just mark the market 1 week change. And one has to say that Indian markets, barring what happened on Thursday and Friday in the second half of trade, despite the geopolitical tensions, they have been quite resilient. Foreign institutional investors have been buying. Domestic institutional investors have been active, and there has been no widespread panic, at least in Indian benchmark indices. Having said that, we did see on Thursday and Friday a little bit of mid-air turbulence in tourism-related stocks. So, Indian Hotel is down more than 5% this week. The stocks of Indigo have fallen. There is definitely a pressure which is there in some of the platform stocks like Exigo. Globally, the stock of Make My Trip has come down. So that's one port of call. Similarly, call it a rising tide phenomenon, drone stocks have gone up. And trust me, there's very little logic there, because there are companies who get 90% of the business from civilian drone manufacturing. So I have no idea that why they went up, but that space will come down. And third, this hot air effect which was there in some of the defense stocks. When war is at play, this entire storytelling which starts. So BL, HAL, Mazgaon Shipyard, this entire space which in a sense was warm in last couple of days, that could come down. But on Monday morning when markets will open, are we in for a gap up start? The risk for Indian market was geopolitical in nature, and are we likely to catch up with what's happening with global averages? Now for that, we've got Hiren Ved of Alchemy Capital, and trust me, even though it's a Saturday, when we've made this call to him on Saturday, he said, I would love to talk. Right, Hiren bhai?
Yeah, thanks, Nikunj. It's an important occasion, so I agreed that we should talk. Tell me.
So what should we expect on Monday morning? Are we in for a relief rally? Are we in for a mighty relief rally, or are we in for just a rally?
No, I think in my opinion, we should have a very strong rally on Monday. As you yourself rightly mentioned that despite the geopolitical tensions, Indian markets were very resilient. However, if you look at, what was happening in the global markets were very strong because the US was able to clinch a trade deal with the UK. India also, by the way, signed a trade deal with the UK, for which I think, that impact really got lost out because, we were in the midst of a escalation in war with Pakistan. And therefore, I think that the Indian markets, which were anyway one of the stronger markets in the world, because if you remember, before this skirmish started, we were one of the first markets to cross beyond the April 2 tariff levels, right? Which showed the strength of the Indian markets. But we were really held back because of this geopolitical concerns. And now that the military action has been halted, while we may continue to put pressure diplomatically and economically, I think what we didn't want and what the markets and what the world doesn't want is another protracted war, which we can't afford. And I think with that ceasefire, I think Indian market should claw back a lot of the underperformance of the last few days, uh, and it should show a pretty strong rebound, in my view.
Hiren Bhaiya, I'll have to request you to stay with us because this is breaking news in case you've just tuned in. The ceasefire, there is a ceasefire now between India and Pakistan, and we've got an official confirmation from the ministry, and the press briefing in a sense just established and endorsed that buzz which was there at least on social media 1 hour ago. Bala, I'm going to ask the same question which I asked Hiren, which is that on Monday morning when markets will open, are we in for a rally? Are we in for a bout of short covering, or are we in for a massive re-rating?
I think the way I see, Nikunj, is one last 2 days, especially yesterday, there was some kind of feeling that the entire activity is getting mellowed down, and we could see some kind of slowdown in terms of the aggression that we have seen in the first few days. And general feeling was otherwise this will be a long-lasting war, and therefore the market was a bit jittery in the last few days. Though yesterday there was a different kind of feeling. Having had a different expectation, the ceasefire nobody was expecting. Now that we have seen this official announcement coming from the government, which essentially means that nobody wants any kind of uncertainty from both the sides, and maybe they would also felt that what they're supposed to achieve and give a signal, probably they would have done that. Therefore, this news definitely would be a big booster for the market. Not only short covering could come, even the people who are sitting on the fence, out of fear of how long this war will continue, therefore what will be impact on the economic growth and so on and so forth. The ceasefire, they will definitely limit the damage from the fiscal point of view. Otherwise, would have spent unnecessary big money and would have created a hole in the fiscal. So that not being the case, now fundamentals will start backing the market momentum. Therefore, those are sitting on the fence, especially the foreign institutional investors, who are the big sellers, and in all probability, they would return a big time. And therefore, we could, I'll not be surprised, not only it opens the gap, and it sustains even beyond that.
There is no precondition to the talk. Talks will continue virtually. India's diplomatic action will remain in terms of there's no change in terms of the diplomatic relationship, no clarity on Indus Water Treaty. So I'm assuming that the Indus Water Treaty, which in a sense was rolled back by the Indian government, that change of stance has not happened. Process has been done bilaterally. US has not really brokered it. This is what we are hearing from sources. This is not coming with any riders. The ceasefire talks will continue, and that is what we hear currently from sources. This is a shape-changing news in terms of the contours. What we can confirm that a ceasefire is now in place. However, India's stance on terror, it does not change. There are no precondition to the talks. I'll see if I can, connect with our daily reporting team here to understand that, is there a rollback in terms of the Indus Water Treaty as well. So that is something which in a sense could also be a hint of which way things could move. Porinju also joins us, and he's also was in a mood to enjoy his, Saturday siesta when we woke him up with this news. So Porinju, Monday morning, what do you expect from the markets?
Markets, I think it will recover very well, and I think what's happening is absolutely a wonderful development, I would say, for India. Anyway, it was a sure thing. Pakistan has to surrender today or tomorrow. It's a question of time. And the biggest point, now actually, Nikunj was talking. Our stand on terror has not changed. I disagree. Actually, our stand on terrorism, Islamic terrorism, is changing. We will not tolerate it anymore, even the smallest bit. So I think we have become more empowered to do that. I think that's a very, very wonderful long-term development. See, India is not interested in this war and conflicts like most of these jihadi countries. So we are working towards the economic progress and the development of our people. It's 18% of the world live in India. We have a huge responsibility. We don't have time to irritate the neighbor and do all these kind of things. It is such a country we have got as a neighbor. I think they won't dare to do such things in the future. It is very good for the market. There is no doubt about it, Nikunj. But at the same time, one cannot be excited and think of a huge uptrend in the market. That may not be happening because of the valuation metrics. I strongly believe, in general, markets they are not going to run away in a big way. It can go to the previous high. In that also will take a lot of time. And a lot of small and mid-cap stocks, most of them good quality stocks are not cheap, I would say. They are very still.
Right, I'm getting some more breaking news. Now, this is again source base. India-Pakistan Indus Water Treaty remains suspended. Source base information. So this is just a ceasefire when it comes to the offense and the counter offense and all the military action which in a sense was happening on both the borders. But in terms of an indication, it is very important in terms of a market market event. This is crucial. So Hiren, I want to talk about a pocket which in a sense has been under stress given where the geopolitical tensions have moved. Hotel stocks, tourism stocks, airline stocks. Now that things are now it looks like that things will go back to normal, at least for the hotel, tourism as well as the aviation sector. Could these stocks they see some rally, Hiren?
Because had this gone on for a longer period of time, I mean, we were already hearing, that international travel, if not domestic, and even domestic travel, because we had to shut like 32 airports, if I'm not wrong. And that would have certainly, created, if not a long-term, definitely a short-term dent in the momentum of these businesses. Because then people would only fly if it was absolutely necessary. But now that, and let's hope that, we all hope this is fairly permanent and we don't have any more military action going forward. I definitely think that these stocks should recover going forward. And the markets may want to see for, let's say, about a week or so, especially after the May 12 meeting, how it goes. And I personally don't feel we will come back to any more military action because I think each side, and especially Pakistan, has realized that we can inflict serious damage on them. So I hope that now the action will shift to more diplomatic and economic pressure rather than military action. So I think this sector will come back.
I'm just going to read a tweet from Ashish Chauhan, Managing Director of NSE. NSE India heartily welcomes the decision by India and Pakistan to cease hostilities immediately. Kudos to the Indian government efforts under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji and his unwavering support to our brave armed forces for ensuring peace and stability. Porinju, you've invested in stocks like Exigo. These are travel and tourism stocks. You've invested, I think, in some smaller hotel stocks as well. Could they see some comeback and normalization could happen to some of these stocks because that was one pocket which was under stress?
Definitely, yes, Anigun. There was a big fear factor, when all these things have been happening. See, market don't like the uncertainties, as you know it. So, and there is, in the normal economic, political conditions, India has a huge demand, a highly growing demand for the travel and tourism, of almost all the segments of travel and tourism. And there is a shortage of supply in many pockets, like, the five-star hotels in some cities, and such a lot of shortages also there. So that's why there's a pricing power and there is, big growth ahead for tourism in a big way and travel. So Exigo, I think, did not go down much, even though it had a big pressure earlier and it has come up. I was just looking at this stock for investment. I'm not invested into the stock for information. Yeah.
Bala, one of the heartening things about the market has been the SIP flows. I mean, we don't have the number obviously for the month of May, but in general, in the month of April also was decent enough, and markets were volatile because of tariff. Bala is not there. Is Bala's gone? Okay, he's not there. Hiren, objectively, if you look at the pure price change for the week gone by, despite geopolitical tensions, the markets were down by only 1.5%. So if I really want to be devil's advocate, can I say that, look, there was no panic reaction? If there was no panic reaction in the market last week when geopolitical tensions flared up, the relief rally may not be all that magnificent?
So, Nikunj, at one level, sometimes you need to understand that it's not just the Nifty, but the broad markets had corrected significantly, right? Because as you know, when there is uncertainty, then, typically the more defensive sectors like FMCG and, banks, etc., until even the banks were very resilient till now, right? But if you look at many of the more broader markets, we had seen some correction that had happened. Though I would say, yeah, I agree that, we were fairly resilient, but we had seen a slightly bigger correction in small and mid caps. And I think that, so while at a Nifty level, we may see a decent rebound, but I think a bigger rebound would come in the broader markets.
Really appreciate your time, and thank you once again for accommodating this interview request. I know it's Saturday evening and you got plans with family and friends, and yet you joined us. Really appreciate that.